Right. You want to do the intro or me?
Yeah, let's fight for it.
Okay, you can do it. It's fine.
Damn it. Hello, it's Pixel Herd, Just Jonkins and myself, Technically Lou, today talking to you about Valve and Steam. And everyone loves Steam, don't they? I don't know why, but they do, because they've been using it for years and they've got a library there. Now they hate Epic Games Store because they, God forbid, have to open up 2 launches, which they probably do anyway for Blizzard and Warzone and everything else. But God forbid Epic Games do. How inconvenient
Origin.
of them to have another launcher. So that's our thoughts on that. But yes, the Steam normally can't do anything wrong. Everyone loves them, even though they're not actually that great. And why they're not so great in today's story, Jonkins. You might be over there.
Well, wherever I am, they generally take 30% of costs when it comes to it, which has driven the price up. They now have, well, it's come to light that they have a most favoured nations in the Steam distribution agreement, in which seller agrees to the client, in this case Steam, that the best terms that it makes available anywhere else means that other storefronts like Epic Store or Microsoft Store cannot compete on price, so they cannot lower the price. So for instance, if you have a game on Steam, it will be the same price on Ubisoft, Origin, etc, etc. If they try and make it lower, Valve say no.
Yes, so you see the lawsuit is saying they're basically abusing their monopoly on the market, which you can see clearly by that description there, that if you want to sell on Steam, you have to match the price every other platform as well. Why they have a say in what you, a publisher or developer, sell your game at is beyond me, and that's clearly, in my book, abuse of position, isn't it?
I mean, for me, it would make sense that it would be the same price everywhere else, but the fact that Steam add that 30% on, the developers have to add that 30% on to make a profit, which then drives the price up, which means then everywhere else it's going to be the same price. It's rather than going, okay, well, yeah, it's higher on Steam because of that 30%, but Epic get it cheaper because they didn't have that 30%. I can kind of understand why they say it has to be the same price to protect Steam, but you also think, well, just lower your 30%, you greedy bastards.
Well, that starts competition, doesn't it? So, I mean, yeah, they do lower the percentage, don't they, for bigger games. So the bigger the bracket of money your game makes, the lower percentage Steam will take, which is good in a way. But the problem is, obviously publishers have a cost, they obviously have a sales target. They go, if we want to make money, we think we're going to sell this many copies, so we need to make them each cost this much. And then they have to go, now we need to add 30% for Steam's overhead. But if they say we want to go to Epic Games Store, or if Epic Games Store even want to be, good competition, because everyone hates exclusivity, it's not a good PR thing, but Epic physically have another way to compete against Steam. It's either go to Epic exclusively, or be the same price as Epic, and Epic probably won't get the sale because everyone's still using Steam, because everyone likes or prefers to have all their library in one place, right? Which Steam know, and Valve know, and they obviously kind of in a way abuse this. I get from their standpoint, it's just, we're just trying to make sure we're a good price, but you're not, because you're forcing everyone's price to be higher because you won't let them compete with you, and competition is good for the consumer always.
And like you said, like the percentage that Steam take depends on how much your game sells. So if it sells well, you'll get less 30%, but you can't go in there and go, right, okay, well, I'm expecting this to sell really well, so Steam's not going to take 30%, so I'm going to do it like £10 cheaper to compensate for that. If you've made an error and you're saying your game doesn't sell well and Steam do take the 30%, you've now shot yourself in the foot.
Yeah,
to try and do well by the consumer.
Right? To me, it's like, the big AAA games we're going to take less of a cut from for you, but the smaller games that really need more of it anyway, because they're not going to sell as many, who really need that margin, are still getting hammered by it. It seems a bit backwards to me, but yeah, I mean, that's the problem with Steam though, is if you have a game on Steam, you cannot sell it cheaper elsewhere. Obviously, developers prefer it, like developers you often see, they'll go, we're an Epic Games Store, and CD Projekt Red, for example, they often said, if you buy it from us, we get more of a cut, we get 100% of the sale, which is great. And people love CD Projekt Red until fairly recently. I think people still generally think they're okay, but obviously people were
every studio
inspired
makes
to go
mistakes,
on GOG and give them more money rather than Steam taking a big cut. But people say that, but then naturally I bet everyone still put it on Steam because convenience, which I get that completely, but competition is needed and it's important. And this is where Apple and Epic have been going at it with Fortnite and all that sort of stuff. So this most favoured nations clause just sounds so dodgy, doesn't it? And I mean, the lawsuit, it says the MFN obviously hinders innovation and suppresses output, which is true.
But then even further in there, like Hitman 3, for example, still goes for $60. It's an Epic exclusive, so it's only on the Epic Store, and obviously consoles. But it's still $60, which is a fair standard point for most majority releases, which is true. But if they've got the exclusivity, they don't have to go with what Steam say. They could lower that price. But
the thing is,
again,
people say, oh, game's 60 quid nowadays, that's fine. But the problem I have with this is games used to be about 45, 40 quid, and they're not anymore.
Used to be cheaper, used to be 30 quid, I remember.
Well, we're going back a long way, yeah. But I mean, in the last sort of like 10 years, games were about 40 quid, and they're about the same level of content and quantity, apart from Ubisoft, who make it massive these days. But you know, it's like, if you think they're 30% worth, it's probably that extra 20 quid we're seeing. It's not. It's obviously, that's way more than 30%. But it obviously is an attributing factor to it. So
I wouldn't expect games to still be $40 because they are taking, I suppose, more to develop them now, and a lot of games are well worth the money. I mean, Ghost of Tsushima, Last of Us Part 2, Witcher 3, all of the Elder Scrolls games, I would say they're all well worth the price tag that they're paying for. But
it's just a shame, isn't it, really, that people like Hitman, they come out with a game that's exclusive to Epic Games Store, they get more of a cut of the sale, but they don't really reduce the price to reflect that. I get, obviously, for them it makes no sense business-wise, they want to make more money, but you think at that point then just release on Steam, surely? Unless Epic paid them a good whack to be on Epic Games Store, I don't know how that works.
But the issue you've got as well, so for instance, there was a tweet that went out by Tim Sweeney. He said, Steam has veto power or overprices a multi-store developer which sell their game at lower price than the Epic stores and Steam. Valve can simply say no. And 2, pricing disparity would likely anger Steam users, leading to review bombing. That has been seen to be done a lot.
Which is one of the worst parts, right? Is that Valve are forcing us to pay more money, essentially, that because they won't allow competition to make pricing competitive. Like, I'm not saying the prices are unfair, but they could be cheaper, but Valve literally stop that from happening. But if anyone does try and do anything about it, Valve somehow militarizes their community against them. It's bizarre. Like, everyone just turns on them like an angry mob. Like, it's their fault. Like, Epic Games Store bad. It's like they're just trying to be competitive and effectively help the consumer, the publishers, the developers, obviously themselves as well. They've got to make a living too. But ultimately, they're trying to do a good change for the industry. But people just militarize against them in Steam's defense. I don't really understand why, because we're paying more money because of Steam.
Even Half-Life Alyx, though. Half-Life Alyx was $59.99 when that first came out. And that's a Valve exclusive, so they didn't even take the 30% on that. They get all of that, but it's still the high price.
It's just they kind of set the market. They almost dictate the market value of a game, and everyone has to match it. That's the thing. Valve literally set the market value for games, and that's the problem here. And that's a clear abuse, I think, of position, because no one can even try and compete against that without doing things that people hate, which is you can't win, really. If you do an exclusivity, everyone hates you, and that's not competition. It's just forced into trying to compete without
with
competing.
The exclusivity, though, the mindset is so set that the games are $60 that even on exclusivity they're still going to be $60 because that's what people are used to paying. And if Hitman 3 came out for, say, $40 on Epic or $45, people would, that's cheap. But then PlayStation and Xbox users would feel like they're hard done by because theirs is like $55, $60. So,
and before we get berated by an angry mob and militarised against us, we like Steam. I buy nearly everything I get on Steam. Because it's the same price anyway. That's the problem, though. But and for convenience, but the problem is then everyone thinks Steam is so great, and it is a great platform, but they're not always consumer friendly, and that's
the thing. Steam is only good now because of the trials and tribulations they went through in the early days. Steam back in the day was dog. It was bad. Like, if you think Epic doesn't have features, Steam had like 0 features back in the day, and they've built it over years and years and years, and they've built that trust over years and years and years. But it's just their business side of things that I can't agree with. Get on board.
I mean, I think Steam got to where it is because of competition. You know, they had to innovate. They had to do things better than everyone else to get to where they are. Same as things like Discord. They had to do things better than everyone else did to get to where they are. And then as soon as you take that position and abuse it to stop other people doing the same thing, it's kind of, well...
Competition's good though.
Competition's always good.
That's where you get your loyalty, and your loyal customers are always the one that will, as well, shout at you the loudest if you do something wrong, which is great because that feedback's also good. You know?
Yeah, I mean, if Steam was so great, people would use Steam because it's great, not because it's the same price everywhere anyway. So, in my opinion, Steam is a good platform, but they can be better, and that is what this lawsuit effectively is trying to do. So, who else is in the lawsuit? There's a few publishers, isn't there, that have been accused. So, CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft, K-Champ Games, never heard of them, Rust LLC, which might be Rust Limited,
and Devolver Digital as well.
Devolver Digital. I'm not sure why the publishers are particularly listed, but surely they're agreeing to Steam's thing, but they kind of have to, right? So.
Yeah, well, they have to have it on Steam.
Because it says the lawsuit alleges the developers are not independently choosing to price their PC games at the same level across all platforms. They are required to do so. So why some publishers are defendants, I don't really understand. That's a bit odd. Don't understand that, but that's what it says in this article we're reading from PC Gamer, which I'll link in the description below if you want to see a bit more in depth. It's a really good, well-written article to be fair as well, and we're just sort of reading it back for those who like watching videos rather than reading articles. If you want to see it, it'll be in the description below. So that's us really. We think Steam are great, but they could do better, and this is one way someone's trying to make them be better by having a lawsuit, because everyone loves a good lawsuit in America.
Sometimes that is the only way to get people to listen.
I think if they're a monopoly, it is the only way, isn't it? Because there's no other way to do it. You've got to stop them.
No.
So so hopefully this means in the future we'll have more competitive pricing, and we have a choice of platforms to get cheaper options. So time will tell. That's our take.
Yeah, like the video if you enjoyed the content, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell, and comment down below what your thoughts are as well, because I am curious to see what other people's idea and just
For anyone who is diehard Steam fan, although obviously there's library convenience, would you still be, I want to stick with Steam because I like having my games in one place? Would you still have that attitude if Epic Games Store had the same game, let's say $10 or 10 quid cheaper? Would you still, or would you start thinking, do you know what, opening up another launcher really isn't that big deal, it's a one click here instead of one click there? Would that sway you? Let us know in the comments below. And of course, as Jake has said, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Toodaloo!
Bye-bye.